Shit. Wish I had my heat off. But y'all know what time it is. Your boy Easy. Truth is true. Please subscribe to the channel. You know, you want to show the channel some support, some love, to donate to the channel. I'll put it up there. You know what I'm saying? You know what to do. But this video right here, you know, I ain't really want to go too much in detail in it. You know, I said when white people were showed that they were no greater than black people. And I said the opioid epidemic. You know, I got to break this down to y'all because a lot of y'all ain't paid attention to it or don't notice this. You know, but I noticed it because, you know, I started watching the documentaries on Netflix. I actually watched two, you know, a series and a documentary on this situation. So, you know, I got to go in on it and speak my just due on it. You know what I'm saying? But this is when the world shows you that greed doesn't care about race. True enough, let me say this, before somebody come on here and say it. Yes, white supremacy stands. And that's not me being racist and all that. I've met good white people. I've met bad white people. You know, I've met racist white people. But this is where the world shows you that color or race doesn't exist and no one cares. As we know from the black community, you know, if you're an 80s baby, you know, or especially if you're a 70s baby, which means you was aware of what was going on. You seen the transition of the neighborhoods. You seen the transition of parents. You seen what it did and how it broke up the community and all that. And, you know, me being an 80s baby, you know, I'm coming in young, but I'm seeing the difference. You know what I'm saying? And the crack epidemic and how they put crack in the neighborhood and how they, you know, people went to, you know, change and how the relationships and the community went to changing from the, you know, crack epidemic. Well, let me tell you about the opioid epidemic. See, which is something that's never really talked about, which I don't understand why it's not talked about. Maybe because it happened to white people. But the opioid epidemic was no different than the crack epidemic. See, the crack epidemic was pushed out there upon black people, which I believe the crack epidemic was pushed out there because of the, the Black Panthers and, you know, the movement of the civil rights movement. And, you know, we still had people who were out there, you know, being righteous and, you know, wanted to see the black community flourish. And what better way than send a drug out there to, you know, corrupt the minds of those people who wanted to do better for their communities and you know, the welfare of their children. So they put crack in the black family, you know, put it in the black community, and people start using it, and you seen the black community fall, which I don't think there's any other situation beyond crack that really destroyed the black community like crack did. Crack really destroyed the black community. Like it took a number on the black community. I grew up in it. You know, I was born in 83. You know, I've seen, and I also have to say this because I made a video last time. My last video, I was saying that the mothers of today are worse than the mothers of the crack epidemic. Now, it's a certain part I got to verify on this. The mothers of today, the black mothers of today, are worse than the black mothers who was on crack in the 80s and the 90s. Even though I have to speak this truth, a lot of the black mothers during that time did leave their children in the house, were out in the streets because they had an addiction. The point I was making is that the black mothers of today, they're not even on crack. They're not even addicted to a drug like that, and they're willing to leave their kids in the house and abandon their children, and more, they rather more party than be a mother to their children. So let me say that and make sure I get that straight. You know what I'm saying? Because I said that wrong. You know, yes, mothers who was on crack, yes, they abandoned their children. It was mothers who didn't come home and stuff like that. But this is the difference. The difference of that situation was discipline. Listen to me when I say this, for any race of anybody, especially black people, See, the difference of in the 80s and the 90s when you was growing up and your mother was on crack or your parents left the house, it was the discipline. Because one thing your parents told you, one, what goes on in my house stays in my house. If I catch what's going on outside my house, I'm going to whoop your ass. If you tell anybody about my business that goes on in my house, I'm going to whoop your ass. If I leave this door, don't answer my door for nobody. I don't care if it's your grandmama, if it's your granddaddy, if you got one at that time. For those that didn't, if it's your auntie, if it's your uncle, anybody that comes knock on my door, you better not answer. See, that's because parents whooped their children ass back then. We were more disciplined. Okay? So that's one reason that shows the difference of why parents weren't getting caught up who had to go and work and who had to go and do this and that. And people could come knock on the door and they would never CHS or you know what I'm saying, DHS, whichever company it may be in different states that come take children away. That's why in the 80s that wasn't happening that much, because your parents would whoop your ass if you actually opened your door or talked to somebody about the business that's going on in your house. Because parents not whooping their children ass no more. So yeah, that's why a lot of these women today are losing their children or going to Miami and being out in the streets and going to parties and going to clubs, leaving their children in the house. Your children get took. One, because you're not disciplining your children, which you shouldn't be doing that anyway, but you are not disciplining your children. But let's go into this opioid epidemic. The same way that they put crack into the black community, they put opioids into white rural, if I'm saying it correctly, rural or poor communities. Opioids, Percocets, which ain't nothing but heroin in a pill form. Yeah. And they don't talk about this. They don't tell you this. They put opioids, Oxycontin, Percocet, and white communities first. And do y'all know how many of them white kids went to killing each other? Do y'all know how much violence and chaos came from them putting Oxycontin in white communities? Do you know how many white people have died and overdosed from Oxycontin? See, I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you how the law work. I'm going to tell you how the law work. White people ain't really got away from what they did. White people ain't really got away from what they done. The opioid epidemic was bad. Them white children was killing each other. Them white children was overdosing, robbing, stealing, killing, doing whatever they could to get some Percocets, which they called Oxycontin back then. This when America hold up, why I can't see the comments? I must hit the wrong button somewhere. I'm sorry if I can't see the comments. I apologize for that. Comment later. I thank you who sent the $10 donation. Thank you. Yeah. And they destroyed the white community by putting opioids out there. Them kids was going crazy. Robbing, stealing, minor stuff. They back injury. Kids who was athletes, broke their leg or was injured playing football, basketball. Them children ended up dying from taking Oxycontin because it was so addictive. And they were lying to people and saying that 1% of people get addicted to Oxycontin. And they were lying. Grown men, not just children and teenagers. Grown men with jobs, getting injured on their jobs, got addicted to Oxycontin. Died, overdose, couldn't stop using it. But for some reason, the mainstream media is not written down in the history books. They never talk about it when white people were addicted to Oxycontin. When white people were overdosing on Oxycontin. It seems like they're trying to make it seem like white people can't get addicted to nothing. You know, sort of like how they portray and push that AIDS only happen with black people. You know, I was watching a movie the other night called The Runaway Jury. You know, with Gene Hackman, rest his soul now, who was in a Guy Tory. And it pissed me off because why is it that Guy Tory, the black dude, had to have AIDS? Why a white actor in the movie couldn't have AIDS? They just gave it to Guy Tory, the black dude. He was hiding the fact that he had AIDS from his family and his friends. Why they had to do that to Guy? Why it had to be a black person? So you have to understand, they act like white people don't have AIDS, white people, and I'm not racist at all. Y'all know that if you watch my channel. I'm not racist at all. The sweetest white woman I ever met in my life was Laura, rest her soul. A horse fell on her head. This woman treated me and my sister like we came out of her. Rest her soul, Laura died when she was 24 years old. One of the sweetest white women I ever met in my life. Loved me and my sister. And I pray one day I go to heaven to give Lori a hug and tell her the experience. Took me and my sister horseback riding. We did Chinese, what they call it? When a fire coming and what they call it? Chinese. Damn, I can't think of that. Chinese fire something. When you get out of the car and you run around the whole car. Fire Chinese something, fire something. I can't remember what it was. But very beautiful, lovely woman. But they don't talk about this. And I wonder why they don't talk about this. Because they love bringing up the crack epidemic in the black community. And then a lot of us, no, you know what it is? They don't speak on it. White people don't speak on the opioid epidemic that happened to them unless it's in a documentary. See, the crack epidemic be talked about every time you see a rapper or anybody black, you know, who made it famous or whatever. You know, I grew up in a time my mother was on drugs, my father was on drugs, even boxers, you know, athletes. I grew up in that. My grandmama raised me. My auntie raised me. You don't hear that from white people. You've never heard a white actor, white singer, white athlete ever come up and say, you know, I grew up, my father, he had an opioid addiction. He died from opioid addiction. Which let's be real about this. Let's hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. Let's be real. Opioids are heroin. Opioids are heroin in a pill form. Not all of them, but Oxycontin, Percocet, you know, the stuff you see young dudes out here taking a day, then go into jail, they got to throw up, their body's hurting and aching. Percocet, Oxycontin is heroin in pill form. Yeah. So while I was giving the black community crack, which is free-base cocaine, they gave the white community heroin in pill form. Now watch this. Watch this how I flip it and let you know it's true. You've seen more white people do heroin than black people. You want to know why? Because the opioids, Percocet, and Oxycontin was nothing but heroin, which was destroying the white community. Now, yes, black people eventually transferred and went over to heroin because as your tolerance builds from doing any kind of drug, you want another high. So you seen people in the black community switch from cocaine to crack and then heroin because they wanted to get high. They built a tolerance of certain drugs. But actually, which they don't tell you, The heroin epidemic at that time in the 80s the 80s and going into the 90s really started in the white community from them giving them people heroin-based pills, which what they call Oxycontin and Percocet, which is a day. So all you young guys out there, you YNs that's out there, if you see this video, I just want y'all to know, you taking heroin. If you buying Percocets, taking Percocets, you using heroin in a pill base. You might as well get the needle and shoot yourself. Ain't you ever noticed when you ain't got no Percocets, your stomach go to hurt and your body lock up, you running back and forth to the bathroom, you feel sick? That's heroin, brother. You're on heroin, brother. And I ain't no better than you. I'm a person been drug addicted myself in my lifetime. This is not to bash nobody or make nobody feel bad about, being addicted to something. That's life. That's just what it is. But this is when society, government showed white people, y'all ain't nothing but niggas to us too. At the end of the day, let me tell y'all something. Why people be arguing, and a lot of people, I see this in boxing a lot. A lot of in boxing, they worry about what Mexican people say and how racist Mexican people is. Y'all got to read y'all Bible and understand this. Mexicans are the Egyptians of the Bible. They ain't never like black people. They ain't never like Israelites. Okay? Mexicans are the Egyptians of the Bible. You don't want to believe it. Mexicans used to be dark-skinned too. That's why Mexicans hate black people. Black people ain't never did nothing wrong to Mexicans. We're not racist toward Mexican people. We say nothing bad about Mexican people. We call them brown-skinned people just like us, but they hate our guts because they are the Egyptians of the Bible. All right? That's why it's like that with Mexican people. But our country has showed you white people. Y'all, they gonna treat you the same way as us. This what matter. That lucha libre, that chicken, that paper, that munyon, okay, them coins. As you say in other states, wherever you may be, this what matter. This don't give a fuck if you white, green, purple, yellow, orange. If you got this, they don't give a fuck. Because they push that opioid right into the white community and didn't care and lied about it and made billions about it, watching them white kids die, watching them white kids get addicted to them opioids, white men, white women get addicted to it and kill themselves off that opioid epidemic and didn't give a fuck. And it was heroin. So they never mention it. White people never mention it. Unless it's on a documentary or a TV show. But you will never hear a white child growing up, or you have never had a white friend grow up or meet somebody white that say, oh, my mother died from an opioid epidemic, opioid overdose, a heroin overdose. Because they don't make that public. They did white people the same way they did black people, y'all. They push heroin-based pills into the white community. Do you hear what I'm telling y'all? I wish I could see the comments. I don't know why I can't see the comments. I wish I could go and change it now. They did the same thing to the white community. So if anybody racist out there watching this channel, or you consider yourself a racist, realize it don't matter. Anybody Mexican watching it don't matter. They don't care about nobody. We live in a white supremacist system, and they still went after their own people and pushed a narcotic heroin pill into their own community. They pushed a pill, a heroin-based pill, into their own community and destroyed it. Killed a lot of white people from it. So what does that tell you, America? They don't give a fuck. They gives, rest in peace, my cousin Lolo, because I used to love when I hear her say this. They gives no fuck. They gives no fuck. Push it right on them people. Why? I don't know. I don't know. I like to sit up and probably think of, I was thinking at first, they probably pushed it in the white community because white people made, but they pushed it in the poor community of white people. I was thinking at first it could be money because white people have enough money to buy it, but then black people have enough money to buy crack. They pushed it on poor people. So what I'm saying to you is, it doesn't matter if you black or you white. If you poor, we all the same color. If you are poor, and which I know a lot of you motherfuckers try to sit up and try to your best not to act like you're poor. If you start working for 2 months and your ass got to go to a shelter, you are poor. If you and your wife start working for 2 months and your family got to go to a shelter, you poor. Fuck that. Hold on. Let me say it better than that. If you and your wife start working for a year, and you have to end up in a shelter, you are poor. Yeah. So I just want people to really understand at the end of the day, it ain't about color, about race. It's about money. Because they push the same epidemic on their own. Watch them die. Watch families cry. Watch mother and fathers bury their children. Watch sons and daughters bury their fathers and mothers off the opioid, Oxycontin, and Percocet epidemic. Because all black people know, growing up, black people never really took pills. Yes, people took pills. Some people bought pills, but pills was never really an epidemic in our neighborhood. It's people smoke crack before they'll take a tab. It's people smoke crack before they would take an opioid pill. It was never really in our community, but they did it to white people. They did it to white people. So race is not the issue, y'all. It's about manyan. It's about that chicken, about that lucha libre. You understand me? It's about that money. The whole point of it is they love to talk about the crack epidemic, but nobody's talking about that opioid epidemic that they put in that white community. You don't hear them talking about that. They hide that, but it happened. And it was just as worse. People were robbing, stealing, killing, doing everything for them opioid pills. snorting them, taking them, all in that white community. But all that is just goes to show this world rotate. God gonna give you what you give. Whatever you give out, God gonna give it back. Whatever you give out, God give it back. I ain't saying white people done got what the world done gave us exactly, but God gave them that back. That opioid addiction. What it did to the white community was no different than crack. It was no different than crack. They put it on their own people. So, I know y'all probably ain't never heard it like this. I'm probably the only video you gonna ever hear it like this from, cause I ain't never heard nobody else talk about it. They don't say it's an epidemic like they did in the black community with crack, but yes, it was. White people was dying like hell from opioids. They were dying. They were doing exactly what crack did: stealing, robbing. You couldn't leave your child in the house for 10 minutes if they was on opioids. You had to make a motherfucker walk around and clap. Clap the whole time they was in your house to make sure they weren't stealing if they was on opioids. Because it's gonna go. It's gonna go. Whatever in there is gonna leave out. So, I just had to bring this little truth to you. Y'all know how the channel go. Truth is truth. Easy, don't sugarcoat nothing. I just bring it to you raw and uncut, man. I just bring it to you raw and uncut, man. And once again, please put your comments at the bottom of the video. I'd like to hear y'all opinions on this situation, because this is a real serious situation. This ain't about, like the last video I made or nothing like that. This is really a real deal video. So, like I said, I love to hear your comments, and I thank y'all for y'all time. I appreciate y'all listening to your boy Easy, and I'm gonna go ahead and get up off here, man. I'm up out of here. Love y'all. Be safe.